and we'll fly. Oh, we'll fly away, away, away.
Hello, it's your boy Davidoff, and welcome to Movie Monday. We spent the first... Sorry if I look scary, by the way. I look a bit scary in this because I got one lighting on, not two. But anyway, as I was saying, I chose a different setup. It's the same, like, I'm in the same room, just like to the back, and I'm standing up. I just thought it might be good to do a different setup, and obviously to do stability as well, because for the Godzilla marathon, I obviously just held a camera in my hand and just talked to you while I was sitting in the chair. It was not very professional. It doesn't need to be fair. I just need to talk about it, but we need some stability with the camera, and I think there's a lot of wind outside. I don't know if you can hear it, but the weather's pretty bad at the moment. So English weather. It was very hot last week in February, which never happens in England, and now it's very stormy. It's more like February now, to be honest. I mean, it's March now, so yeah. At this rate, there'll be snow in April, like last year as well. Anyway, yeah, let's not get off track. So we spent the first 2 months of Movie Monday. I obviously introduced this series in the New Year's, and we spent the first 2 months, the first 8 weeks, watching every single Godzilla movie, along with some King Kong movies as well, and some other monster movies as well, but mainly Godzilla movies. We watched, there was 38 of them, I think. Was there 38? Yeah, I think there are 38 Godzilla movies. We watched all of them over a big series, and it was a fun series to do. I'm so glad I checked it out. I'm so glad. The Heisei period especially. Love that, mates. Love it. But anyway, we are moving on to a new marathon, an X-Men marathon. I'm doing this because obviously Disney is buying Fox, and it's still not done yet. I'm pretty sure they put the bid in 2017, and the deal is still not done. The last I checked, they needed approval from the EU and China as well, and I think they needed other things to go through, like there was investigation and stuff regarding finances, I think, and Comcast wanted to buy Fox as well, so there was an argument there. And yeah, the point is Disney are in the process of buying Fox, and I'm pretty sure it's happening. Like, I don't see it not happening now. I think if it wasn't happening, we probably would have heard about it by now. And I think the deal was gonna go through, it's just taking a long time. But anyway, Disney are buying Fox. But regardless of when it's announced, it might be announced in the summer, any Fox movie that's currently in development is gonna be released, pretty much. Any Fox movie that's currently filming, in post-production, it's going to be released. But anything that's not been in production yet will not be released, will not be a thing. So they can't do Deadpool 3, anything like that. But anyway, the point is, one thing Fox have done is they've had the X-Men and Fantastic Four as well, but let's forget about them. They've had the X-Men, they bought the rights off Marvel, obviously, because Marvel were in debt. The wind is crazy. Marvel were obviously in debt at the time, almost bankrupt. They had to sell Spider-Man and the X-Men, the most popular characters. They had to sell them off to stay afloat. Obviously it's different now, but yeah, now Marvel, look at them now. At one point they were close to being bankrupt, so they had to sell Spider-Man, their poster boy. They had to sell the X-Men. There's the movie rights, obviously, not the comic book rights, but they had to sell these characters' movie rights to other studios just to survive. And now, many years later, they're owned by Disney. They're making billions upon billions, and they're still going strong. I'm sure they make more billions with Endgame as well. It'll make at least it'll make at least $1 billion through ticket sales, and another $1 billion probably through toy sales, to be honest, because they're pretty popular with kids, obviously. So they're in a great place right now. And now Disney's buying Fox, which means Marvel takes back the X-Men and the Fantastic Four. And they'll be in I'm sure they'll be in the MCU. I'm sure they'll introduce them, because they're too big characters not to be introduced. Unfortunately, there's no Hugh Jackman, but you know, hopefully they cast a good Wolverine, because he's my favorite Marvel character, my #1 Marvel character. I do love Wolverine, mainly because of Hugh Jackman, but I hope they do a good casting. So yeah, this is meant to be a marathon about the X-Men movies. I haven't even talked about them yet. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what the MCU does, but I also appreciate Fox. I appreciate Fox for bringing the X-Men onto the big screen. I do appreciate, like, especially First Class, Days of Future Past. I cannot wait to watch those two movies. I love those two movies. Days of Future Past is, for me, in the top 10 superhero movies of all time. Like, Days of Future Past, I think, is that good. I think it's so damn good. Logan for me, is the second best superhero movie of all time. That's a hot take right there. The Dark Knight #1, Logan #2. My opinion. I don't know if you agree, but I think Logan is that good. So I appreciate you, Fox, for bringing this thing onto the big screen. First Class, Days of Future Past, Logan, Deadpool, and Deadpool 2. Those movies are, they're all great. I appreciate you, Fox. So thank you for your services to these characters. I think you've done well. Anyway, this episode is about, I'm not going into detail. I'm just gonna like tell you my brief thoughts on each movie. So this marathon will be like 4 episodes long, probably, but it might not be 4 weeks in a row. I might interrupt it for Infinity War Endgame because I want to do videos on that as well. Maybe Captain Marvel, I'm not sure. Depends on when I watch the movie. If there's a lot of talking points, I'll talk about it in Movie Monday, probably. We'll see, but I'm seeing that this week. But yeah, let's just get into the actual marathon. On Saturday night, I watched 3 X-Men movies, the original trilogy. So the first 3 X-Men movies, X-Men, X2, and The Last Stand. Now, I'm not gonna lie, I am not a huge fan of these movies. I like some of the characters. Patrick Stewart plays a good Professor X. Ian McKellen, great Magneto. Storm, I loved Halle Berry as Storm. Hugh Jackman, I love, of course. Rogue as well, I like Rogue, Jean. I like the characters, but I'm not a big fan of these of this original trilogy, to be honest. I don't think any of them are great, but I do think the first 2 are pretty good. The last one, terrible. The Last Stand, the only one that was worse was Origins. We'll get to that in the next episode. But yeah, I'm not a huge fan. I'm gonna say why. I wasn't a huge fan of superheroes in the past. I only became a big fan in 2012, and I gained it through the movies as well. So I didn't read comics. I read 2 comics in my life. One of them was about Superman and Lex Luthor. I think Lex Luthor found out he was Clark Kent and tried to kill him with kryptonite. That's all I remember, really. I read a comic about Superman and Lex Luthor, and I read another comic about the Hulk, about 5 pages, and that's about it. My comic history is nothing. I did recently buy Infinity Gauntlet, so I want to read that and review it actually, and I want to read some Batman comics soon. He's my favorite fictional character, so I would read comics of him. Off track again with this video, off track, but the point is, my love for superhero movies came through the movies. Yeah. My love for superheroes is what I mean to say came through the movies. It came through two things. First of all, the Dark Knight trilogy. The Dark Knight trilogy did it for me. That was like, wow, I want to see more of these types of movies. I mean, the Dark Knight was different to the rest, to be honest, but I wanted to see more of the genre superheroes after seeing that trilogy. So in 2012, I watched Batman Begins and The Dark Knight for the first time, and The Dark Knight Rises I watched in the cinema because there was a lot of hype around it, so I thought I'll watch the first 2 first, loved them, watched the 3rd one. And also, it's not just that, it's also the Avengers movie. That one did a lot for me as well. That one got me into the MCU, got me into Marvel. I loved that movie, and yeah. But before 2012, I wasn't a big fan, which is why I mentioned all that. I wasn't a big fan. I liked Superman. At the time, even though I wasn't a big fan, I was more into like action comedies and Pixar movies and Disney stuff and DreamWorks as well. I love Shrek, Ice Age, and I love those DreamWorks productions. But the point is, with superheroes, I liked Superman. I saw the Christopher Reeve movies, I liked them, and I liked him. He was my favourite superhero, Superman. Until the Dark Knight trilogy, it was Superman's favourite superhero. And it was just him and Spider-Man, really. I watched the Spider-Man Sam Raimi movies as a kid, and I loved them. Grew up with them, they were classics. I want to see them again at some point. I bought the Blu-rays recently as well, so I might see them at some point. Maybe for Movie Monday, might rewatch them. It'll be a good throwback. But anyway, it was just Spider-Man and Superman that I really liked. I watched the Hulk movie in like the 2002 one. I was okay with that. I thought that was pretty cool. And the X-Men movies, I didn't watch in the cinema. I didn't watch them until like 2010, I think. I never even watched Origins or First Class in the cinemas. Like, I really wasn't a fan of X-Men. Even after I got into like, actually, yeah, after the Dark Knight trilogy, I thought, I want to watch more. Then I decided to go and watch the rest of the X-Men movies, basically. That's how I got into it. And when I first watched the original trilogy, I was like, it's alright. I like the characters, but it's alright. The 3rd one was awful, though. The thing is, the 3rd one had so much potential, because, yeah, I was going to mention, by the way, this marathon, the whole point of it is to build up to the Dark Phoenix movie in June. I forgot to mention that for some reason. I was meant to mention that during the merger talk, because obviously before Fox goes to Marvel, before Fox goes to Disney, but before the X-Men goes to Marvel, Dark Phoenix is the last X-Men team-up movie before the deal was finalized, I think. And there's one more called The New Mutants, so that one will come out as well. That's not an X-Men movie though, that's about mutant kids, like a horror movie. That'll come out in the summer. But the main thing is Dark Phoenix, and in The Last Stand, they did the Dark Phoenix storyline, but it just didn't fit. It just didn't, I mean, it fit, but it didn't work. The way they did it, it just wasn't good. Especially the last scenes as well. Well, we didn't get to see her properly with the Phoenix Force until the end of the movie, and I think that kind of ruined it, to be honest. And I think like having her as Magneto's, having her as working for Magneto was a little bit off as well. So hopefully this Dark Phoenix movie, which I'm looking forward to it. I saw the second trailer. I liked it, to be honest. I feel like I think they spoiled the death though in that trailer. I think they did, but I think this is an opportunity for them. This movie, Dark Phoenix, is an opportunity for them to do what they did in The Last Stand, but this time do it right. I think they have potential to do it. I prefer the younger cast as well. The younger cast I prefer for the most part. Jean, Sophie Turner, I don't love her that much more than the original one, but I like them about the same. But I prefer James McAvoy and Michael Fassbender as Professor X and Magneto. I just prefer those two. I prefer the younger versions of those characters. Storm not so much. Storm the older version, definitely, the previous version. But yeah, we'll get to those movies in a few episodes, in like episode 3 probably. But yeah, yeah, they ruined it with The Last Stand, I feel. They ruined it. And the first two movies, when I first watched them, when I was quite a bit younger, yeah, as I said, I thought they were right. And then I eventually watched Origins, and I was like, oh dear, what happened here then? They kind of messed that up as well at the end. And then I watched First Class, and I was like, okay. I mean, I'm suddenly into the X-Men a lot more now, because that movie did a lot for me. And then Days of Future Past came along. I was mesmerized. Then Apocalypse came along, and that was a disappointment. But we'll get to that. I'm talking about the whole thing now instead of like over episodes. I will talk about the rest of it in the future episodes. The Wolverine movie came out as well, the second one. I was alright with that, and Logan was amazing. So Logan will be the last one. We don't need to watch Logan for Dark Phoenix, because as far as we know, Wolverine is not in Dark Phoenix. Hugh Jackman has quit. He's quit. If he didn't quit, he would have been in Deadpool 2, but he wasn't. So he's definitely out. There is no way they're hiring a guy for Wolverine just for one movie, just for him to get fired again when he goes to Disney. It's not going to work. So there's no Wolverine. I think we know that for sure. So it's going to be interesting, because they centered a lot of the movies around Wolverine, and sometimes it wasn't the best idea, but when it did center around him, it was actually, for the most, actually Days of Future Past centered a lot around him, and I think that was the best one. I feel that was the best, apart from Logan, that was the best one. So Wolverine was such a great character, so iconic, and obviously he's not in this one, but I still think they can do really well without him, and this is the chance for them to prove that they can make a great movie without him. To be fair, they did in First Class. He was only in there for like 2 seconds, Wolverine. So I think this Dark Phoenix is a good opportunity to see what they can do without Wolverine being such a main focus of it, and for it being such a big storyline like Dark Phoenix as well. That's going to be, I said Felix, Dark Phoenix. It's such a big storyline, and to do it without Wolverine, do it without Hugh Jackman, then it's going to be interesting to see how they do it. So yeah, pretty much my thoughts on the original trilogy. I'm saying this now, but I spent like 10 minutes, like 12 minutes of this talking about everything else that's not the original trilogy. This episode is meant to be about the original trilogy, and I've spent like 2 minutes talking about it. I'm very sorry. This is very poorly structured. When I review and talk about movies, I don't usually write a script or anything. I just talk. I just come here and I just flip and talk. Okay, but when it's a TV show, I write down stuff and I talk about the points on my notepad on my phone. So I don't know why I do it differently for movies, but yeah. Anyway, the first and second movie, I felt they were pretty good movies. Like, I don't think they were bad. It's just that I wasn't a big fan of them. I honestly wasn't a big fan of the first two movies. I don't know why. I mean, they were not bad. They were pretty good actually, and it was great casting. Characters were great, but just something about it just doesn't. I never look back on that and think, wow, those are great movies. I just look back and think, yeah, they're alright, even now. That is what it sounds like when the wind is pushing against this building. I live in a big block, and yeah, this video is all over the place. But yeah, I just wasn't a huge fan. But I do like the storyline they did. I do think it was interesting. Both the hero side and the villain side. It was good to see like two perspectives. One perspective of Charles Xavier was that he could see humans and mutants coexisting, a peaceful world, whereas Magneto sees more of a war coming, because there's a lot of humans that look down on mutants. Mutants basically represent minorities in real life, technically, because in real life you have black people, females, gay, LGBT community, they're all they're protesting about rights, etc. in real life, obviously, and you would get that in the Marvel world with mutants, because they are looked down on. And it's not just, obviously it's not like real life where it's a color thing or a sexuality thing. In Marvel, obviously mutants have powers and they're dangerous. And obviously when you oppress people, when you attack people, when you look down on them, eventually some of them will fight back. That's just how it is. That's just how people react to things. And when mutants fight back, they have powers, so they're obviously going to be dangerous. And when mutants cause destruction and kill a lot of people, obviously a lot of humans will be elevated in their arguments against mutants. They'll think they're a disease, etc. So it goes pretty deep. It's pretty interesting who and what the X-Men are, and I think it's a good dynamic to do movies on. And yeah, I think it's just done really well in most of the movies anyway. But yeah, I'm still not a big fan of the first two movies. I'm still not a huge fan, even though they were actually pretty good. But I don't know, I guess because I didn't really grow up with them and I watched them really late, maybe that's a factor. But I really liked First Class, so I don't know what it is. I'm just not a huge fan of them. But I would watch them again, the first two anyway, not The Last Stand. That was a bit painful at times to watch. That was just all over the place. They just didn't get it right. So hopefully Dark Phoenix is what The Last Stand was supposed to be. Hopefully. But we'll see. But yeah, I think Scott will play a huge role in Dark Phoenix for sure, because there's no Wolverine this time, so I do think Scott will play a huge role. And it'll be interesting to see how they end it, like what happens, like does she get defeated or is she too hard to stop? Because if you look at the trailers, it just seems like they don't know what to do, the X-Men or Magneto. Like, well, what are they going to do about it? So yeah, it should be interesting. But yeah, I just love the journey. Like my favorite parts of the X-Men movies are Wolverine's journey, to be honest. Even though that doesn't really matter towards Dark Phoenix, not relevant to it, I still like Wolverine's journey. I just love it. And I also love Charles Xavier's journey from the first movie up until Logan. Magneto's journey, both versions of him, obviously the younger, older version. So it's going to be interesting. And obviously the timelines of this thing is all over the place, isn't it? It's like all over the place. Like you wonder, like, I'm pretty sure Dark Phoenix is only like a few years before the original X-Men movie, and they obviously look a lot longer. Younger. They look a lot younger. So that's a bit weird. The timeline is just all over the place. But I think that despite the fact there's a really bad timeline, you can still enjoy these movies, especially Days of Future Past. That is just unbelievable. Unbelievable. We're not going to say much about the directors though, about the director. Let's just not mention the name. But I appreciate quite a few of these movies, and I can't wait to see the better ones for me. The prequel movies for me are easily the better movies, so I can't wait to see those. Apart from Apocalypse wasn't that bad, to be honest. The thing is, right, this ties into The Last Stand actually. When it comes to superhero movies, I love storylines. I love when it's grounded, when it's not grounded. I like a good range. I like a good range of superhero movies. But one of the things I love the most, is huge battles. I love huge battles. The battle at the end of the Avengers movie, the first Avengers movie, was great. Age of Ultron, end of it, was a massive battle as well. Wasn't as good as the first one, but still, it was pretty fun at times. Infinity War, Wakanda fight, Titan fight. Those are big battles that I enjoyed. Like I enjoy big battles that involve a lot of heroes, a lot of villains, just a lot of characters, just having a huge battle. When it's done right, when it's showed in the right way, it's just, and with the right build-up as well, it's just so amazing to watch. It wasn't quite the same with The Last Stand. The Last Stand had a big battle at the end. I'm usually excited about that stuff, but that movie I wasn't. And Apocalypse as well had a huge battle at the end. And to be fair, I quite liked that battle, to be honest. Another example is BVS, the Doomsday battle. I enjoyed that battle. That movie gets a lot of hate, which I don't think it deserves. That's another idea for Movie Monday, actually. Another idea for Movie Monday to talk about BVS, actually. I'll probably do that at some point in the future, probably next year, to be honest. But still, the point is I love big battles, and Apocalypse had a big one at the end. And to be fair, it was alright. It was alright, better than The Last Stand anyway, but it was a bit underwhelming. So I'll talk about that more, I guess. Not in too much detail, but more when I actually watch them again. And also another thing, when you do rewatch movies from a long time ago, you kind of miss a lot of details, you kind of forget a lot of details. So even though I was watching these again, it felt quite fresh, because it's been a while since I watched the original trilogy. Lost my voice there, sorry, but it's been a while since I watched the original trilogy. I think I only watched them once, I think, in the past, maybe twice at the most. The first 3 movies anyway. First Class I watched about 3 times, Days of Future Past about 5-6 times in total. I love those ones. Logan I've seen about 5 times. That's very depressing, but a great movie. But the original ones I only watched like once, I think. So yeah, I missed a lot of details. I forgot a lot of details in it. So it felt quite fresh to me still. And a lot of the powers are cool. What's the guy's name again? Rogue's boyfriend, is it Iceman? I think it's Iceman. He was pretty cool. And the fire guy, whatever his name is. So yeah, there's a lot of cool powers in this. Like, yeah, it's pretty cool. It's pretty interesting. This the X-Men movies are interesting. They're a bit different to the rest, because it focuses on a group of people that have powers that are not necessarily superheroes, but they have powers and they have abilities, and they're looked down on as diseased people as well, because they are humans but with special abilities, with I guess evolution is the right word for it, or a mutation. People with a mutation. I also liked Magneto's origin as well, with the concentration camp as well, back in World War II. It gave a very deep storyline to it, and you can see, like, based on that, you can understand more of why he doesn't really believe in humans. You know, he prefers the mutants to be more dominant, be the more dominant race, because he doesn't like the humans pretty much. And to be fair, the Germans in World War II, they're an example of what humans can be, because at some point in time everyone was innocent. You know, when you're a baby, you're innocent. I mean, you hate is taught. So the Nazis at one point, when they were kids, when they were babies, they were just innocent little children. And look what they turned into. Look what they turned into. So I think they're an example of what humans are capable of. So I think that ties in really well with Magneto's I've messed up my words there. I think it ties in really well with Magneto's ideology. And the way he thinks about humans, the way he sees humans as something beneath mutants. So I think that's pretty interesting. So yeah, anyway, that's all I got to say really. This was all over the place, to be honest, and I spent too much time talking about other things, but I thought I'd just, introduce the marathon. The next episodes will be shorter than this. Maybe not the 4th one, for a reason that I won't tell you yet. But yeah, it might be interrupted because of another video, but we'll see. We'll get through this marathon definitely before Dark Phoenix comes out. That's for sure. This was your boy Davidoff. Please like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Have a good day, and see ya.